welcome back. Okay, the fourth letter. That's where I was with the sacred mission. Where we talk of the terrestrial magnetic field and of the telluric currents. Let not this title worry you. In what follows, everything will be simple. With reference to the magnetic fields, I would not be telling you anything already known unless I digress into a lack of simplicity that I have already promised me and you know and you not to do. We have all known for a long time that magnetic fields exist and orients the compass towards north. Since days of the Renaissance, the compass has certified its activity on the Earth. We also know its variations caused by the stars and planets, including our very beautiful satellite, our beautiful moon. Of course, in evidence also is the great king of the sky, the sun. The study of terrestrial magnetism is one of the most complex on which man has pondered. The deep studies in magnetic science have opened great inroads in science, so I will not dwell on this, which could be boring to you. As to telluric currents, they are far from having the same popularity. They did not benefit like magnetic fields from an ambassador like the compass. In layman's language, here is what they are. An electric field of current called telluric exists in the earth. These currents are a few feet under the surface of the ground, weak but very valuable and useful. They are weaker as one probe deeper. Their strength is at its maximum at the very surface. When first discovered, and the notion remained long after, it was true that these were completely independent of terrestrial magnetic fields. However, today, we know that they are influenced by the same forces, lunar and solar, and perhaps by the magnetic field of the Earth itself. In order that you grasp this better, I will draw you a picture. Suppose that you have a light, such as one that lights up your room, but one of extreme sensitivity. Instead of plugging the two prongs into the wall, you insert them in the earth an inch or two down, but one prong several hundred feet from the other. You would then have the surprise of seeing the light shine. It is possible by this method to measure telluric currents. One creates two poles by separating them sufficiently, preferably 2 bars of copper into the humid soil. By interposing an ampere meter on a conducting wire to which these poles are linked, you can measure the current. This is in the order of a few millivolts per kilometer of distance between the two buried poles. Though not very strong, they are not negligible. The degree of conductivity in the soil has a great influence on these telluric currents. And this conductivity is very variable depending on the composition of the soil, the degree of humidity, etc. There is a curious there is a curious enough reason for me to mention why these currents have been studied more seriously. Weak as they are, they have a noticeable effect. First, they hampered geophysicians research for petrol by perturbing their operations, not having been able to eliminate them. The geophysician had to accommodate to their presence and better yet use them. They managed to do just that by making them their free auxiliaries. In fact, they perfected a system of measurement allowing the telluric currents to intervene free as one of the elements of the system. This was not easy. A lot of dedicated study went into how to learn to use them. Still, as to what caused those remain an unknown. We do not care about the cause in this reading, but rather we are interested in their effect. I will tell you in my next letter if it pleases you to continue. Fifth letter. Here we talk about the terrestrial electrical fields and the current of conduction. This should not be any more difficult to understand than the previous, maybe even easier. The electrical field on Earth is one that affects the atmosphere around our plane. To clarify this, in case you did not already know, we call this electric field a domain, a space occupied by this electricity. In fact, it is recognized that an atmosphere loaded with electricity surrounds the Earth. Surface the Earth, whatever. Depends how you see the Earth. We also know that the Earth represents a colossal mass of negative electric charge. The atmospheric domain of electricity exchanged constantly with the plane itself immense quantities of electricity. This electrical domain directed to the Earth constantly bombards the Earth, thereby impregnating it with positive charge. The Earth exchanges into the atmospheric domain negative charge. These exchange of electric charges between the Earth and the atmosphere are called conduction currents. The conductor is the atmosphere itself, which is slightly conductive but in a very variable manner. A simple image will help you here. The Earth contains negative electricity and the sky lets fall to the Earth some positive electricity at every moment. The Earth receiving more and more positive electricity should therefore become less and less negative. This destruction, so to call it, of the negative charge of the Earth is enhanced again by another negative, the raindrops. They bring down both negative and positive ions. Overall, the positive ions falling on Earth are the greater. This may not be so for one downpour alone, but for the overall picture it is so. In the light of this mechanism, one has the right to ask the question, by what phenomena the Earth remains negative? It has been demonstrated that if other currents of conduction in the opposite direction did not exist in order to establish the equilibrium, the negative charge of the Earth could be neutralized in 1 hour. Life could be possible on Earth. We shall not see why. We shall now see why. The discharges add to the negative charge of Earth. Let us call it denegativation. Denegativation. It might seem inexplicable, bizarre, and mysterious. Concerning this great problematical puzzle, science seems to find the solution in the following manner. The clouds called cumuli, these great big stormy clouds that you know so well, contain masses of electricity. in equilibrium of negative and positive. In addition, they bombard the Earth constantly and generously with the negative charge. The term constantly is really so. At every moment, there exists an area where the sky is charged with cumulonimbus clouds. These acts are a very real source of negative electricity, recharging the Earth constantly with negatives. As I told you before, other current of conductions constantly try to denegatize To this effort of recharging of negative by the cumulonimbus, one has to add the effect of lightning storms. These are different from what we just described as coming from the cumulonimbus. These negative charges, lightning coming from the falling of electricity on Earth, kills men, sometimes an animal, cause fire, and many other strange manifestations, that of which we are all familiar. But contrary to what one would imagine, as spectacular as it may seem, the effect of this negative charge of vivid lightning followed by thunder are significant in comparison to those less apparent but much more frequent cumulonimbus. I'll be back.